So here at the DigiPalms, we've seen it 1,000 times. Someone builds an absolutely incredible product. But, building it is really only half the battle. So today, we're literally opening up our internal playbook. This is the exact storytelling framework we use to take a product you've poured your heart into and turn it into a launch that people just can't ignore.
Okay, let's just start with the hard truth, right? This quote, "This is the single biggest fear every founder, every creator has. You build something amazing, something you know is valuable. You put in all those hours and then crickets, silence." It's a terrifying thought, but honestly, it happens all the time.
So the big question is, how do you make sure your product isn't just the best, but also the best marketed? How do you get the attention, the traction that you know it deserves? Well, that is exactly what we're going to break down for you right now. At its core, our whole philosophy is pretty simple. We don't see a launch as this stressful one-and-done event. To us, it's a methodical process. It's all about building genuine relationships with the right people at the right time and with the right story. It's a conversation, not just a broadcast. And we do this using a clear, repeatable system. First, we'll tackle the problem, what we call the launch paradox. Then, we'll show you how to lock on your audience, blueprint your core story, build that unstoppable buzz, and finally, and this is key, turn that launch day flash into a sustainable flow. All right, let's get into it. So let's start with that paradox. You've poured everything you have into creating something genuinely valuable, but in a world that is just so unbelievably crowded, how do you stop it from getting lost in all that noise? That is the core problem we're here to solve together. And the solution starts right here. Before you write a single word of copy, before you design a single graphic, you have to stop guessing who your customer is and get a crystal clear focus. Everything, and I mean everything, is built on this foundation. And look, this isn't just our opinion. CB Insights did a ton of research, and they found the number 2 reason startups fail is that they build something nobody actually wants. That's a brutal reality, but it just shows how absolutely critical it is to get this audience piece right from day one. The tool we always use for this is the buyer persona. But forget those vague demographics like men aged 25-40. That's useless. A powerful persona is a detailed, research-backed profile of your ideal customer. What are their goals, their challenges, and what's the actual language they use to talk about them? To make this really practical, we use our 4R framework. For your perfect customer, you define their role. You identify the roadblock that's driving them crazy, you articulate the reward they'll get from your solution, and then you understand the rationale they'll use to justify buying it. This simple table turns a bunch of data into a super clear, actionable guide for your entire launch. Okay, so once you know exactly who you're talking to, it's time to build the story that's going to connect with them on an emotional level. This is where we go from just having a product to creating a story that people are genuinely excited to be a part of. We always use this proven 5-stage narrative arc, and it's so powerful because it mirrors the customer's own journey. You start with their reality right now, the status quo. Then you dial up the tension, the problem they're feeling. Then the big reveal, here's our solution, followed by the all-important transformation, and you end with a compelling vision of their future. It builds momentum step by step. Now, of all those stages, number 4, the transformation, that is the absolute heart of your story. You have to make the benefit tangible. Don't just say, it saves you time. No, show them exactly how a frustrating 30-minute chore becomes an effortless 3-minute step. That's what makes the promise real. Okay, so we've got our audience locked in and our story blueprinted. Now we shift gears from strategy to execution. This is how we build that palpable anticipation before the launch and then execute flawlessly on the day itself. We don't just show up on launch day and start shouting. We strategically guide the audience from being kind of interested to being super excited. We start by offering valuable freebies, lead magnets, to build trust. Then we spark curiosity with teasers. And finally, we use a series of educational emails to answer their questions before they even have a chance to ask. Then, when launch day arrives, it's all about a synchronized plan. I mean, look at the timing here. Every email, every social post is coordinated. From the big announcement right at launch time to follow-ups that show off social proof and handle common questions, every single piece works together to turn all that anticipation into immediate action. But listen, the work is not over when that launch window closes. In fact, this is where most people miss the single biggest opportunity. This last phase is all about making sure that all your hard work creates sustainable, long-term growth. This slide really gets to the heart of how we see launches. You can have a flash launch, right? A super high-stress event where traffic disappears after a week and all your awesome content just gets abandoned. Or you can build a flow system, a repeatable model where momentum actually builds over time and your assets become this amazing evergreen content ecosystem. We always build for the flow.
So how do you actually do it? Well, it's a three-part strategy. First, you atomize your big launch assets. Turn a 1-hour webinar into a dozen social clips. Second, you nurture your new customers with a fantastic onboarding experience, not more sales pitches. And third, you optimize, using all the data from this launch to make the next one even smarter. And this all comes together in what we call the launch loop. It's a continuous cycle. You gather feedback, which refines your strategy. That improved strategy fuels better content, which you can then repurpose, which gets you even more feedback. Every single turn of this wheel makes your entire growth engine smarter and way more powerful. So as you plan for what's next, really the choice is yours.